everybody, welcome to Potential Synergy. I am Toony. Thank you for being here. In this video, I am going to talk about this bag. This is the Hosta Hobo Camera Bag and the pattern is by Blue Calla Patterns. A few weeks ago, I purchased my first real camera, which is the Panasonic Lumix G7, and that's this one right here. As you can probably tell, it's sitting right here because I don't know how to use it to film yet. I didn't know anything about photography until I bought this camera, and I've been learning a lot. Still have a long way to go. But anyway, now that I got my camera, I thought, well, I should get myself a camera bag. And as a sewist, why would I spend $20 buying a decent, normal looking camera bag from Best Buy or Amazon when I could make my own for a lot more? So I went on a little camera bag pattern hunt and I found a few patterns for camera bags. Some examples are from sewsweetness.com, and that pattern is called the Ansel camera bag. And then there's another one from Swoon Patterns, and that one is called Camille camera bag. And this one is the Hosta Hobo Camera Bag from Blue Calla. In the end, I decided to go with this pattern, and I'll tell you why when I go over the features. So this video is gonna go like my other reflections videos. I'll start with the features of the bag, and then I'll talk about materials that I use, any adjustments that I made, and then I'll talk about some challenges that I encountered along the way, and finally, just my final thoughts to you. Alright, let's get started. First, let's talk about the features of the Hosta Hobo Camera Bag. What's cool about this bag is, you see there are two parts to the bag. This part is where you put the camera and it's optional. So, without this part, let me just put that away. Without the camera insert, this is the bag. So it looks like your typical handbag, hobo bag, whatever you want to call it. The pattern comes in two sizes. This is the large one, and I don't know how to compare it, but let's compare it to my face. It is large. I did look at the measurements before I decided to go with the large one, and I thought, okay, it's large, but but it turned out even larger than I thought. So let's talk about the structure of the bag. So let's say this is the front. You got two zipper pockets here. And then once you open the bag, it has a zipper pocket on the top. Once you open the bag, you're gonna have another zipper pocket on one side. It's pretty large. On the other side, there's clear vinyl compartments. These are like slip pockets. So I think they're designed for like SD cards, chargers, stuff like that. And those are all the pockets you have inside. And on the back, there's no pocket. You can add a pocket if you want, but from the pattern, no pockets here. And that's it. It has a strap. You can adjust the strap. It can be your handbag like this, or it can be a crossbody bag, which is how I like to wear it. I think that's pretty cool. Alright, let's look at the insert. So this is the insert. First of all, you get these padded dividers. You get two for the large size and one for the smaller size. Of course, you can make as many as you want. And inside, you have some Velcro over here, and you can separate the insert into different compartments and just store your lenses or whatever. You can put your camera in there, and you can put it in the bag. So that's why I chose this pattern, because if I don't want to use it as a camera bag, I can just take the insert out, and then it could be my weekender bag, or for someone else it could be a diaper bag, or whatever you want to use it for. And one thing that I like about this is that I had all the materials for it, whereas with the other two patterns that I mentioned, I would need some buckles. And those patterns, they do look more like your typical camera bags, whereas this one, you probably can't tell that there's a camera in here. It just looks like your normal handbag, which is kind of cool. Now I'm going to talk about some adjustments that I made to the bag. Apart from materials, I did not make adjustments to this bag at all. I really like it the way it is, so let's go over some materials. For the exterior, I use wax canvas. This is my first time using wax canvas, so I was a little bit nervous. It was easier than I thought. It was a little thick, and the layers did add up, and I'll talk about that in a bit. So wax canvas here, I got my wax canvas from Sailrite. I think it's good quality. It's 12 ounce, so it's a little bit thick. And then for the cork, I got this cork from sewsweetness.com. It has some rainbow accents to it, which is really nice. I really like that. For the lining, I use Oxford nylon. As a result, I use very little interfacing. For the slip pocket on the inside of the bag, I did use some quilted cotton, so I interfaced the pieces with SF101. And also, my camera insert is made entirely of quilted cotton. So those are interfaced with SF101 as well. Because of the materials that I use for the main bag, I ended up not needing as much interfacing, which saves me quite a bit of time, so I really like that. For the strap, I used seatbelt webbing, and that saved me some time from having to sew my own strap, but the pattern instructions go through this step if you want to make your own strap. Yeah, so those are the adjustments that I made, mostly with the materials. For the pattern itself, I didn't make any adjustments. Now we're going to talk about some challenges that I encountered while making this bag. So this bag is labeled as an intermediate pattern, not because it's hard, but because it takes longer to make. It has more steps. But compared to the diaper bag that I made earlier this year, that one has more pockets. I remember struggling quite a bit towards the end of the process, and I was about to give up. For this bag, I did not feel that way. I felt like the pattern pieces just worked together really well, and the steps were very straightforward. However, there were some challenging steps. So personally, I felt like it was a smooth sail until this point, until I had to sew the zipper onto the top here. Mainly, well, first of all, because this is a curve, and if you've never sewn a zipper to a curve before, that can be a little challenging the first time you do it. And I'm going to share the same tip that I always shared, which is you make tiny teeny snips along your zipper tape, both sides. And they have to be really tiny, like 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch, really small, but make little snips just along the zipper tape. And that will help it spread better when it has to align with the curve. The pattern doesn't mention that part, so I'm just sharing this information with you as an extra tip. Also, the top stitching was hard. If you look closely over here, my top stitching is garbage on this side, and it was because I had very little room to work and I could hardly see what I was doing, but I wanted to try it, and I went really slowly, and I had to unpick this top stitching line once and then sew it again. So it was a little bit challenging, so just keep that in mind. My tip, I guess, is when you assemble the zipper to the main panels, do the front panel first, so that when you top stitch it, you have more room to work with. And if you have no clue what I'm talking about, once you purchase the pattern and you're reading the instructions, I think this will make more sense. Next challenge is just the sheer size of the bag. So there are two sizes, and personally, unless you have like 3 or 4 lenses that you want to put in your camera bag, or you want to use it as a diaper bag, like you want a lot of space, I think the smaller size might just be enough because this is big, and it depends on the materials that you use. Also, because I used thicker materials, they did add up. So like during the last steps, it got really bulky and kind of hard to maneuver and all that stuff. You know, all the challenges that come with making a big bag. So just keep that in mind. One more thing, please make sure that you keep your sewing area clear, especially if you're gonna make the large size, because it's probably gonna hit things around your sewing machine, and it might get caught on other things, and that might make it harder for you to feed it through, blah blah blah. Just make sure that you get stuff out of the way so that you won't have to worry about it. Last but not least, so this bag was pretty manageable, even with the challenges that I mentioned, until the last few steps. You see these strap connectors? Once again, depending on the materials that you used, so I have Cork here as my strap connectors, and I have wax canvas, multiple layers of wax canvas, and they all got sandwiched together, and I had to sew these little seams, very little, but I did break my needle, and to be honest, I didn't use the right needle. I was too lazy to change my needle, and then it broke, so I had to change it. So I changed to a jeans needle, 110/16, and that helped a bit. And I also lengthened my stitch length to 3.5 and sewed very, very slowly. So that helped, and I managed to sew these two seams. However, my machine did complain a little bit. This one is especially for those of you who have, you know, a domestic machine, one that's not super heavy duty. So keep in mind what materials you're going to use on this bag. Most of the bag is going to be just fine on your sewing machine, except for these two. These little seams, and I don't want you to get frustrated. I don't want you to be like, oh, you're almost done, and you just have to finish these two seams, and then your machine just can't handle them. And then you're like, what do I do? Yeah, so I don't want you to get in that situation. So before you even make the bag, think about your materials. Think about how thick all these layers are gonna be. If this is your first time making the bag and you're not quite sure, I would highly suggest go with quilting cotton. Yes, you will have to interface every single piece. It's annoying, it takes time, and you know, you gotta buy interfacing. But in the end, it's going to be less bulky and easier on your hands while you're sewing. So you kind of have to weigh the pros and cons. Final thoughts. This bag was a fun make. I highly recommend it if you know someone who has a camera and they need a camera bag. This pattern is great. I like that the camera insert is optional and you can take it out. So, you know, even when you mainly use it as a camera bag, if one day you decide, hey, I don't want to put my camera in there, I just want to use it for a weekend trip or something, you can just take it out and you have that option. And I like that it comes in two sizes, so you can choose to make this large one for everything, or you know, a smaller one, which is still a decent size. In terms of difficulty, like I said before, and as the pattern suggests, it's not a hard bag to make, it just takes more time. So for me, I think it took me about 4 to 5 days to just finish, you know, from cutting to finishing the camera insert, which I made last. Each day I spent about 2 to 4 hours just working on this bag. I did take my time. I don't sew very fast, and I try not to get to the point where I get frustrated. So I just try to take things slow and just enjoy the process. So if you never made this bag before and you want to give it a try, but you feel like it's a little bit above your level, I would say please go for it. I would never say no. You know, you can make any bag that you want. With a bag like this, I feel like if it's your first make, just go into it thinking, hey, if this bag turns out good, perfect. If it doesn't, then it's a lesson. because it's a more complicated bag to make and you're gonna make mistakes, but you're gonna learn from them. So if it's your first make, I would say don't use the most expensive fabrics that you have, or don't go and just buy like fancy fabrics or try super difficult fabrics if you're not sure. Quilting cotton, I think it's a great place to start. It's not water resistant and it can get stains, but you know, it's your first bag. At the very least, it's gonna be a bag that you can put stuff in and you can decide what you're gonna do with it later. But it will be more comfortable for you to sew, more comfortable for your machine if you have a domestic machine, and you get to learn the steps of making the bag without the pressure of other things like fabrics and needles and stuff like that. I haven't seen any videos about this bag on YouTube, so I just wanted to make one to just share with you because I love this pattern. I think it's a great pattern. I feel like photographers need more fun camera bags than those fully functional, very muted colored bags that they sell out there. So we could make them some. Last thing that I want to point out is I did spot some discrepancies between the pictures in the pattern instructions and the written instructions. So my suggestion is go with the written instructions if you are unsure. I don't know how specific I can be because this is a paid pattern, so I don't want to go into too much detail, but I feel like I did have trouble with some pictures. I was like, oh, the picture looks like this, but the instructions say something a little bit different. So yeah, go with the written instructions and you'll be great. If anything is going to make this pattern a little bit more challenging, I think it's the structure of the pattern instructions are a little bit like, it's like an essay. You know, there are not a lot of bullet points, so it's kind of difficult to navigate. Sometimes it takes you a while to find what you're looking for, like the sizes. Because the pattern comes in 2 sizes, and because the instructions are laid out in kind of like 2 columns and just kind of like paragraphs, it's not always clear where things are, so you kind of have to take your time and highlight or circle or do whatever you need to do to make sure that you're following the directions for your size. One more thing, in addition to the pattern pieces, there are a few more pieces that you will cut, like the strap connectors or like small pieces that are rectangles. So there's no pattern pieces for those pieces, so just make sure that you cut those pieces. And the best way to make sure that you don't make mistakes is to read the pattern instructions from front to back, carefully highlight anything that needs to be highlighted before you even begin. Currently, there's no video tutorial for this bag pattern, so you have to rely on the written instructions, which are very clear. I was a little bit scared going into this, but the instructions are very clear for the most part. There are some confusing pictures in my opinion, but with some experience, I think you can totally nail this bag. Without experience, you may struggle a little bit, but you figure it out. And the mistakes that you make are probably not going to be hard to fix because this bag is pretty straightforward. You're gonna make it, you're gonna be proud of it. Somebody out there is gonna be super happy that they have a cool, one-of-a-kind camera bag that's made by you. I really hope that was helpful. I can't wait to take my Hosta Hobo Camera Bag out into the world with my camera and capture some amazing moments. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.